they don't know about this feeling. Don't talk, baby, just move with me. Take a sip and you get someone's in love.
Leave that lonely out for me, baby. Are you still there?
Pretty girl, when you come to my room.
Okay, seriously, can we really talk about 90s R&B kings without mentioning John B? I mean, the man had us all in a chokehold with They Don't Know.
They don't know about you and me.
Making us believe in love, heartbreak, and smooth-talking men with goatees. But here's the thing, though. What exactly is behind all that silky smooth voice and charm?
Success at radio and we had the Grammy nomination and stuff, like you're still going to get pushback because of the color of John's skin.
'Cause what if I told you that from side-eye-worthy comments about Beyonce to throwing shades at modern artists sampling his music, we're about to dive into a whole lot of things you wouldn't believe happened in the life of this man once crowned white baby face. Now, let's be real. Nobody was expecting a blue-eyed, baby-faced white boy from Pasadena to step into the R&B world and actually thrive.
Altadena, Pasadena is very diverse. I mean, but even beyond that, like growing up with grandparents who owned a record store.
But let's rewind a little, 'cause John B's come up. Oh, it wasn't just smooth runs and love songs. It was a journey filled with side eyes, shades, and straight-up resistance. Jonathan David Buck was born on November 11th, 1974, in Providence, Rhode Island, but he grew up in Pasadena, California. And while some kids grew up in a house full of athletes or fashion-forward families, David came from a family where music was law.
Classically trained parents that were teachers of music. And
His father, David Sr., was a professor of music, while his mom, Linda, was a concert pianist. And at a very young age, they made all their kids learn at least one instrument.
just as serious about the music, so everyone was going to learn an instrument. And,
By the 4th grade, John already knew how to play the keyboard, guitar, and drums.
I was playing the keyboard, playing the drums, singing, trying to form groups.
But here's the thing, though, that still doesn't explain how a white kid got into R&B, right? Well, while John's parents only allowed classical music in their home, John's grandparents were the cool ones. They owned a record store where John got a secret taste of all the secret genres his parents tried to keep away from him.
Like growing up with grandparents who owned a record store, I had every record that ever came out.
John fell in love with R&B, rock and roll, and disco. And while that sounds like a dreamy origin story, let's be real. Not everyone was here for it. You see, most of his high school black classmates weren't happy with his love for R&B. Some couldn't fathom a white dude embracing their culture, and some sincerely thought he was faking it. They straight up bullied him for being a white dude who wanted to sing R&B. The teasing got so bad that his parents pulled him out of his former high school and enrolled him at LA County High School instead. And let me tell you, this is where his life changed. At his new school, he joined the gospel choir.
It wasn't until high school, though, because I got into gospel choir in high school.
Gotcha.
And, I'm so grateful for those years.
Where he really learned how to sing correctly. I mean, he already had the voice, but gospel music gave him the soul. By age 17, John was ready to make those wild dreams of his happen. He started shopping his demos around LA recording studios.
Hip hop and just like my whole area was, taking their tapes and going shopping. So
in hopes that someone would get this, let him stay in the background and write songs for artists.
If you like the music, we could see what we can, who can I produce,
I mean, maybe it was the whole backlash from school, or maybe he thought R&B fans would never fully accept him. But John actually didn't start out with any interest in being an artist. But soon, everything would change when he submitted his demo to Yab Yum Records. His demos caught the attention of then CEO Tracy Edmonds. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because Tracy was married to the R&B legend himself, Babyface.
Shopping deals, all around, just going around and taking my tapes and my cassettes. Like I said, I was playing it for different people.
Tracy and Babyface heard John's demo and immediately knew he had something special. Even better, they weren't about to let him just be a behind-the-scenes songwriter. And although he wrote songs for artists like Toni Braxton, New Edition, and Rotak for a while, they sincerely believed they could get him to be accepted by R&B and pop fans, regardless of his race. And if you're wondering if they were right? Well, in 1995, John dropped his debut album, Bonafide.
Yo, my God, you look so fine. Oh, no. I can't touch you 'cause you're bonafide.
His lead single, Someone to Love featuring Babyface, wasn't just a hit, but was also Grammy nominated. The album also hit certified platinum, with another hit single, Pretty Girl, rising to the top of the charts. But while his songs were booming on the charts, a whole lot was going on behind the scenes for this boy in R&B. Now let's talk about one of the biggest struggles for 90s artists. And no, I'm not talking about trying to survive a TRL countdown against the Backstreet Boys. I'm talking about record label drama. And for John, it all started with creative differences.
You kind of make mistakes and you see yourself in a way you might not want to see yourself.
See, John was really about smooth, soulful, make you text your ex at 2 a.m. R&B. And he was determined to stay doing what he loves. But his label had totally different plans for him.
And they tried to make me something I wasn't, and that's okay.
They felt like the hit singles from his first album, Pretty Girl,
How can a man like me come miss a girl like you?
and Someone to Love were more pop inclined, and they wanted him to cross over and experiment with pop music. But John wasn't about to sell out his R&B roots for some mainstream crossover dreams. He stood for what he wanted and created what would become his career-defining album, Cool Relax.
There was a change from the Bonafide album to the Cool Relax album.
And thank goodness he did, 'cause that album was the one. In 1997, when Cool Relax dropped, it spawned hits like They Don't Know, reaching number 2 on the R&B charts, Don't Say, reaching number 34 on the R&B charts, and finally, the OG track, Are You Still Down, featuring none other than the king of hip-hop himself, Tupac.
Say goodbye, now leave now. With my heart on my sleeve, memories that.
And speaking of Tupac, let's be honest, he's the last person you'd expect to collab with an R&B artist. So how in the world did these two ever link up? Well, according to John, his friend Bezel was at Pac's video shoot.
And Bezel calls me up and says, guess who's a fan of your music? And I'm at his video shoot right now. And you need to get down here, like right now. And I said, who? Where you at?
And turns out Pac was a huge fan of John. And I mean, when you're fresh in the game, still dealing with the music industry politics, and one of the biggest names in the industry,
really, and Tupac was the biggest artist in the world, essentially, of any genre,
is out here vibing to your music in his car.
Like, that's Pac's car. Like, oh, he was playing my music. That's tight, right?
And asks you to come down to meet him. Of course, you pull up. And after meeting Pac, the two entered the studio and gave us the hit, Are You Still Down?
Right away, we got to it. It was about 3 hours in. I mean, we were pretty much done.
And I know this song is a classic now, but back then, it was almost never released. Once again, record label got in the way. And this time, I hate to admit it, but they've got a point. First, not only was it really rare at the time to have an R&B hip-hop collaboration.
A collaboration between R&B and hip-hop, it was very rare.
Let's now put squeaky clean John B. with gangster Pac, who was literally at the middle of the biggest rap war in the decade.
Yeah.
The East Coast,
Absolutely
West Coast war was.
This was crazy.
Yeah, I think Hit 'Em Up was already out.
Wild. So you can probably guess, John's record label was like, you want us to market a love song with a dude who's beefing with half the industry? Yikes. But while his record label was really hesitant about putting the single out, they eventually did after Pac died in 1996.
We're like, all right, we'll put that in the we'll see. And then he died.
All right, let's put a pause on all the career struggles, industry drama, and label mess, because, trust me, we need to talk about John B's love life. Now, for an R&B crooner who made a whole career off of serenading women and making us feel like we were the only ones in the room, you'd think his love life would have been picture perfect, right? Wrong. Because John B's relationships have had their fair share of side-eye, public scrutiny, and a whole lot of drama. Let's take it back to 1999, when John tied the knot with his longtime girlfriend, Music Galloway. Now you'd think it was all romance and slow jams, right? Well, think again, because this marriage was doomed from the start. And why, you ask? Oh, just a little thing called the public opinion. Now, if you know anything about John B's fan base, then you already know black women ran his fan club in the 90s. I mean, come on. The man was a smooth, blue-eyed R&B heartthrob, and women were ready to risk it all for him. So, when people found out he was dating and then married a black woman, oh, the streets were talking. Some people loved it. Others, not so much. And let me tell you, some fans were not here for it. People started questioning everything. Was he really about the culture, or was he just playing a role? Did he marry a black woman because he genuinely loved her? Or was it just to prove something? Was the whole relationship just a PR stunt? So yeah, John B. and Music Galloway called it quits. But before you start crying over John B.'s broken heart, don't even worry about it, sis, because he was just fine. By 2007, John was already back in love and off the market, marrying his now wife of 17 years, Danette Buck.
Oh my God, so Danette, you've been married now 17 years.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And this time, no public drama, no messy headlines, just pure love.
I think the main key in the lock is communication.
Oh.
Communication.
And to make things even sweeter, John and Danette have been blessed with two beautiful daughters, Luwen True and Azure Luna.
Your daughters are now 16 and 9.
Yeah, 10. Actually, she's 10
Oh,
now.
she's 10 now. So
Hey, at least there's one happy ending. Now let's take it back to when John B. made a statement in that one interview about Beyonce that put him under serious fire. Picture this. It's the mid-90s, Destiny Child is just starting out, and a 16-year-old Beyonce is on tour opening for John B.
My first major tour was with Destiny's Child as the opening act for me. And
Yes, you heard that right. Queen Bey used to warm up the stage for our boy, John. Sounds pretty cool, right? Well, fast forward years later, and John B. is reminiscing those early days in an interview, and he lets this little statement slip.
a little 16, 17-year-old Beyonce just like, you know, I'm sorry, but because I'm a grown man at the time, it's kind of wrong. But
Wait, sir, what? The moment that clip resurfaced, the internet went wild. People were not having it, calling him out for objectifying a teenage Beyonce and basically saying, that's not the flex you think it is. But John B. isn't seeing the whole thing that way. To him, it was an innocent memory. He meant no harm and never would have crossed any boundaries anyway. Now, let's talk about the drama that once again put John B. back in the headlines in 2024. So Chloe Bailey
I gave you more than you want.
and rapper Gunna
Smash all you itty bitty rapper in a minute. I was showing the pro.
released a track called You and Me.
Oh, baby, you fine, fine. They don't know that we wind down.
And guess what? They sampled John B.'s classic, They Don't Know.
They don't know about about this?
You know, by someone last year was Gunna and Barely.
That's right.
They put that Ratchet record out that I couldn't stand.
Now you'd think he'd be honored, right? Wrong. Instead of him showing love, John B. dragged their version to filth, calling it Ratchet and saying that he wished they'd never released it.
That Ratchet record out that I couldn't stand. Oh, man. And I wish they never did.
But before you start reining it in on John B., he revealed something that flipped the whole situation around. Apparently, turns out the duo never received permission to sample his song. And I mean, imagine someone takes your work, flips it into something else, refuses to acknowledge you, and oh yeah, doesn't pay you for it either? Yeah, not gonna lie. I would be mad too. Okay, let's talk coins. 'Cause if you thought John B. was still living off fat checks from his 90s hits, well then think again. In a shocking 2023 interview, John B. admitted that he has never been paid a single dime from his record sales and has only gotten money through shows.
Now, I get checks because I do shows, but I don't get paid for my records.
Like what? The man who gave us some of the most iconic R&B hits makes $0 off them today. No royalties, no streaming checks, nothing.
Well, you ain't been paid a check from one record.
From any of my records.
Oh, now let's get
What?
it. Yeah. Now, John B, shut up, man.
Nah.
John B.
Now, let's just pause for a second. How crazy is that to wrap your head around? Because you'd think a guy who had platinum albums and hit records would be sitting pretty, right? And if you're wondering where all the money went, well, this, people, is why artists need good lawyers. 'Cause back in the day, labels were out here handling out some of the worst contracts in music history. But don't feel too bad for him. 'Cause trust me, our guy is not broke. Despite being robbed of his hard-earned money, John B. is still doing good, with a net worth of about $4 million. So, as of 2025, what is John B. up to? Trust me, this man is still very much in the game. He's still performing shows all over the world, still working on music, dropping singles, and collaborating here and there. And let's be honest, while he may not be dominating the charts like he once did, John B. is still very respected in the R&B world. And let's be real, either you love him, hate him, or are still wondering why he never got the flowers he deserved, this white babyface legacy will forever be secured.